Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into a really tough story, the experience of Alberto Daniel Hill. He's an information security expert from Uruguay who was, well, wrongly imprisoned.
Yeah, it's quite the case. We've got an interview with him about life after prison, his philosophy, and also a summary of, how he ended up there in the first place.
Right. Our goal is to really understand the takeaways from this whole ordeal and his transformation. For you listening, it's about resilience, injustice, things you can absorb and think about.
Definitely. And it starts with him being, a respected figure. In 2014, he finds security flaws in a government health system, reports them responsibly, does the right thing.
Exactly. The kind of thing an expert should do.
But then fast forward to 2017, and suddenly Interpol arrests him for hacking. It's just unbelievable.
That really is. From respected professional to prisoner, accused of the very thing he was trying to prevent. Imagine that whiplash.
Total shock, I'd imagine. And that feeling of losing all control, all freedom overnight for something you didn't even do. Just devastating.
So at first, Alberto thought, okay, this is a mistake. It'll be cleared up fast. He talks about those first nights, freezing in the cell, just thinking he'd be home soon.
But that hope didn't last long, did it?
No. His lawyer eventually had to tell him, look, it's preventative prison. Even without strong evidence they were going to hold him. Preventative prison. It's basically being held before trial, sometimes just based on perceived risk.
Which really highlights how vulnerable someone can be in the justice system. His book, Log into Hell, goes into this whole botched process. Evidence that might have helped him just seemingly ignored.
Faced with that, just the sheer terror of it, his first instinct was apparently to just mentally shut down, try to block it all out.
A totally understandable reaction. He mentioned the suicide rates in Uruguayan prisons are terribly high. A really grim reality he was suddenly part of. He even admitted, the thought crossed his mind, however briefly.
But then he made a conscious choice, not just to endure, but to adapt, to figure out how to survive.
And that's where he learned that key lesson, right, about treating others.
Yeah, not the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, but treat others as they want to be treated. Understanding their perspective. That was his survival strategy.
That's such a powerful shift in thinking. Really insightful for navigating any difficult social situation, honestly.
And while he was inside, the outside world showed both the best and worst of people. His mother was heroic, just tireless support.
Absolutely, but then the contrast.
Right. This person he called his best friend, promised to look after his mother, help out, and just disappeared. Vanished.
Wow, that's tough. It shows how crisis really reveals character, doesn't it?
Definitely. So after 8 months, he's released. But he walks out with almost nothing, just his cell phone.
And his life completely upended. Relationships damaged, personal belongings gone, finances confiscated, including over $1 million in crypto.
With no explanation given for that crypto seizure either. Just gone. Imagine facing that.
It's staggering, the sheer scale of the loss on top of the imprisonment.
Yet his mindset afterward is pretty remarkable. He talks about accepting what he couldn't control, focusing on moving forward, despite losing that fortune.
That acceptance, that focus on agency, it's incredibly resilient.
It makes you think about that Seneca quote about suffering more in imagination than reality.
Exactly. His fears before prison, maybe even fearing death, versus the reality of adapting, finding ways to cope, to survive day to day. It shows how adaptable we can be, even in the absolute worst circumstances.
I find strengths we didn't know we had.
Good. So, wrapping up, Alberto's story is, it's a stark look at how fragile justice can be. But it's also about the incredible strength of the human spirit and how much relationships, both betrayal and loyalty, matter in those dark times.
So, as you think about this, consider, what does this kind of resilience look like? How do we find that capacity to adapt when our own sense of security or freedom is unexpectedly shaken? It's a powerful thing to reflect on, that inner strength we might possess.